Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about astrology and the Britney Spears conservatorship court case. Uh, the thing about this is, some of you may have heard, apparently what's going on with Britney Spears for a number of years, I believe this is her father, and I don't know if anybody else is involved, but I know her father has done something where where he has certain control over Britney Spears' assets, her funds, her money, and I don't know if this was attributed to him thinking that she wasn't competent to be able to manage her own finances, or what this actually has to do with, what the reasoning behind it is. That is it a ruse for something else? Was he looking for perhaps a reason to have more control and manipulate these funds so he could actually have access to more? What is actually going on? But I'm going to talk about what I think is going to happen on this court date, assuming it does occur and they don't somehow find some excuse to prolong or protract this. My understanding is that this was like rescheduled from some previous time. And the thing is, the problem I'm having too with this is going to be somewhat speculative because I don't know if this is actually going to be on the 19th or the 22nd of August. I'm seeing two different dates coming up on the internet for this, but the generational transits are going to be very similar, whether it's the 19th or 22nd. The two main astrological planets that will have the most significance in terms of their placement from the 19th to the 22nd of August. Obviously, we're going to be looking at the sun and the moon, and also, well, you have also Mercury and Venus can have a fairly decent disparity in degrees from those two dates. But basically, but because I know it's between the 19th and the 22nd, we could still get a good general idea and conception of what might be going down as far as these transits go. Now, when I'm looking at Britney Spears' chart, what's interesting with her, one thing that stands out to me is that she has, when I'm looking at the 12 major astrological influences, we're looking at the 10 astrological planets, the ascendant and midheaven. And of all of these, she has, like, I think 7 of those placements are either in Libra or Sagittarius, and those two signs are the ones that are most synonymous with the law and legal matters. It's not surprising that this is winding up being a very large legal situation. And this is obviously getting a lot of exposure and notoriety, to say the least, which is of course because of who she is. But still, this is something where I'm looking at the chart. Saturn, she has Saturn in Libra, which obviously could manifest in a number of ways, which, Saturn can be the career, which her work has been tied into singing and performing. And obviously Saturn in Libra can have a career in the arts. Now, the thing what I'm looking at is, though, she has and another thing I've noticed too in her chart, she has 8 of the 10 planets on the left side of the chart, which suggests a lot more. When you have a preponderance of planets on the left side of your horoscope, in other words, in houses between houses 10 and 3, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, and 3, that generally is going to incline toward more independence and self-reliance. And she's generally a person that I would say does not really need cajoling or coaxing from others to get things done. And for me, that tells me that how difficult this experience has been for her, because her chart really suggests somebody that likes to get things done on her own, and she's probably really craving this independence in terms of her finances right now. Now, the thing is, when I'm looking at the transits in her chart, she has a number of planets, transiting planets in Capricorn near her Venus in Capricorn. Venus in Capricorn by itself can sometimes manifest in matters with finances that might have some limitations or restrictions, or something where there's a very where making money might require a laborious effort, but it's also can be an indicator of financial acumen through business, through one's career and ambitions. It's really not that bad of a placement. It's being Venus in an earth sign is very, I mean, I understand Venus in Virgo. I mean, Venus is in its fall in Virgo as an example, but when you have Venus in an earth sign, that could give a lot of pragmatic ability over monetary matters. But with her, sadly, it may have manifested to some degree in financial limitations. I understand she's made, there was something on the internet that stated she made at least 500 million in her career, and I believe her net worth is over 50 million right now, but you'd have to confer this on the internet and check on that. But anyway, the thing that I'm noticing that's standing out are these transits. I mean, I do believe she's going to emerge victorious in this. There was somebody made a point online about Kanye West being bipolar, and he's able to run for president. That Britney Spears, I mean, you would think she, given what she's done with her career, very illustrious career, she should be mentally competent to be able to handle to manage her finances on her own. She's like 38 years old right now, but one transit that actually, I mean, looks auspicious for her is that transit Pluto is making a separating conjunction from her Venus and Capricorn. When you have Pluto on Venus in transit, that could be an indicator of very emphasized control and power in one's finances. It may manifest in times where you're exhibiting control, but sometimes it could be some power that might be coming from another source over it. It's in her fourth house of home and family, and Pluto is in Capricorn, which is the sign connected with authority and the father. I understand it's generational, but it still may apply in some cases when you're looking at the sign on it. You're also talking about transit Jupiter has moved away from her Venus in terms of a transit conjunction. I do believe when it goes direct later on this year and it hits her Venus, that could be a very auspicious and beneficial time for her. I don't know how these court situations work. I don't know if this is going to be protracted or if it has the potential to be protracted and prolonged any further, or is this definitely going to have some closure? Is there a conclusion going to be reached on this day, whether it's August 19th or the 22nd? I don't know if they can procrastinate any further on this. But what I want to say too is that Britney Spears also has the South Node conjunct her Venus in her chart, which is an indicator right there. When you're looking at the South Node is hitting a planet, sometimes it can often affect that planet to its detriment. It's not always bad, but what it tells me that this is about when you're talking about South Node in astrology, it's about what we're trying to go away from, what we're trying to separate ourselves from. And the fact that it's conjunct her Venus tells me that this could be about separation from a very inhibiting, restricting financial matter from the father, which can be connected with Capricorn, with the father having some kind of control over the finances. This is really to me, the fact that, I mean, the fourth house is about our security, our emotional security, and our safety. This may have been done for some kind of safety reasons, what the father may have thought for Britney, but that is not. But I do believe Britney does have the mental capacity, the mental faculties, and she's mentally competent to be able to handle these finances on her own. She's getting an abundance and surfeit of support from her fans. She has Taurus on the 8th house cusp in her natal chart, which is an indicator of very persistent, loyal, and steadfast support from others. The 8th house can be about financial, moral, monetary support, emotional support. The thing about that, and the thing about this too, is when I'm looking at this, well, she also, the fact that Venus is in the fourth tells me that these financial matters, this restriction, has also been a very strong emotional burden on her, because the fourth house can correspond and correlate with emotions. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. But the thing too is, in looking at aspects in her chart, it's not really that bewildering that she's had some issues in terms of her finances, because the control issue she has, Pluto squaring her Venus. She also has Saturn squaring the Venus. When you have Saturn square Venus, astrologically, this could be about really having to put forth more of a laborious effort in order to earn your money. This is where you might experience some sorrow, difficulties, delay in attaining some kind of income. And the fact that this is a lot of this, again, not to be redundant, is done. I mean, Venus and Capricorn, some kind of the father or some authority having some control over the money. And obviously, what it tells me too, the fact that you're having Saturn and Venus and Capricorn in this whole mix, is a lot of despondency and feeling disconsolate over that. Venus can be about feelings and sentiments, so Venus and Capricorn could be about feeling disconsolate and feeling somewhat despondent over having to work harder to really get that, the money that is needed. Because I mean, I understand she has this certain, I guess, I don't know what that's called, when like your allowance, but this is something that should not be transpiring with a grown woman, not by any means, of course. Now, another thing too, what stands out to me is that she has the singleton, which is Jupiter, in her chart, and the singleton is Jupiter in Scorpio in the second house now, which means it could be more. The fact that it's a singleton can be more pronounced and more emphasized for that reason. And Jupiter, I mean, is about abundance. She has it in Scorpio in the second house. That can and also Jupiter is about enlargement. It could be about enlargement of control issues over things of a monetary matter, over her resources, over her possessions. Now, on the positive side, though, this is strongly factored in, I believe, because Jupiter is very benign and benevolent and could be about prosperity. This is how placement for prosperity, making a lot of money. Jupiter is prosperous. It's in the second house of finances. So it's actually worked both ways for her. It's been to her detriment to some degree over the power issues with the money, but it's also been auspicious in that sense, in terms of her generating money. Now, and the fact that one of the rulers of the second house, Pluto, is in the first house, that tells me that money, things of a monetary nature, can be very significant to her on a first impression. However, that ruler, one of the rulers, Pluto, is conjunct Saturn, so that's an indicator of those restrictions over something of a monetary nature and matters with resources and possessions. What I find interesting is that there's another transit I'm looking at that's interesting with her, is that she has transit Uranus right now in her 8th house of the moral, emotional, monetary support, shared resources. Uranus in Taurus. Uranus in Taurus by itself can manifest in a lot of fluctuation of things of a monetary nature. It's currently direct. What's interesting, though, if I'm not mistaken, on August 16th, it's going to go retrograde. So it's going to go retrograde shortly before this court appearance for the conservatorship case for Britney Spears. So even though it's going retrograde, the fact that it's going in the other direction of shared resources makes me wonder if this is going to be some kind of reversal as to what Britney is going to get. It could be this could be an indicator that something unusual or unorthodox that was connected with shared resources could be going in the other direction, which actually might be good for her, because I would say this is a situation connected with shared resources. The fact that the father is managing a lot of this money, and he's likely, I mean, I don't know what's actually going on, if he's using any of this for his personal expenses, but it wouldn't surprise me if that is what's transpiring at this point in time. And another thing I'm noticing with Britney Spears, sadly, is that transit Neptune is making a long opposition to her 12th house natal Mars. The Mars in the 12th house can sometimes indicate depleted or dissipated energy. And the fact that transit Neptune is making a long opposition to it tells me that she's more, I mean, at this point in time, she has Mars square Neptune natally, but she has that transit with transit Neptune making a long opposition to her natal Mars. Tells me that this is a time where she really probably feels a little bit more lethargic than usual, might feel more like daydreaming and fantasizing as opposed to actually having to take action. So this is where it's causing more of a burden for her to have to actually go and do these things at this point in time, having to go through such an arduous and laborious court case. So there's really not much more I had to say about this than this. Now, the thing about it, though, is when I'm looking at the transit Pluto in her 4th house, this could be a time where her family life may be starting to be maybe obliterated to some degree based on the outcome of this case. This is obviously going to cause, probably has already caused, some discord, dissension with the family, or at least the father at this point in time. And having Saturn conjunct Pluto tells me that in some cases, I mean, I know that can manifest in the father. The person who's the father can be somebody that could be very powerful. It could be somebody that could be power hungry, very controlling, domineering. She's got also the Cancer on the cusp of the 10th house. Now, when you have Cancer on the cusp of the 10th house in the chart, the 10th house can reflect the father, the dominant parent, which is often the father. In this case, it may be a Cancer sun, moon, or ascendant person, or simply one that embodies those traits. It tells me that she's likely, somebody that this person, the father, is likely somebody, is showing very protective, maybe too much so, too smothering, and somebody that is too nurturing and over her finances and perhaps her other resources as well. Capricorn is on the cusp of her 4th house, and to me, the 4th house is the less dominant parent, which is often the mother. So it tells me, I don't know about the compatibility with her and her mother, but she may have seen on the negative side her mother maybe being somewhat tyrannical or cold or callous, or somebody that might have inhibited her. The fact that she's on the Capricorn on the 4th house just by itself can manifest in a lot of cold energy in the home and the family life as well. And there might be something where maybe she feels, Capricorn, that could also be who a person is at the core. On the positive end for Britney, that could be somebody obviously that's very ambitious, has good premeditation, has very good business acumen, could be very career oriented, a person that's very consistent, and somebody that has discipline and structure, and that is what she's trying to get some degree out of this situation. But I do believe there's enough here to state that this is going to be to me, she is going to win this. I believe. I don't know when she's going to, if she wins this case and it does take place on the 19th or 22nd of August, I don't know how long it is until she would actually get that full access to her resource, to her money. But anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.